Hello, everyone, and thank you for your patience. We're going to go ahead and get started with our town hall today. I'm Elaine Armstrong, Vice President of Marketing, and I'm here with our President and CEO, Keith Parker. We've got a lot of information that we want to share with you, and we want to give you some great updates and look forward on what we have to come this year. But first, if you have questions that you would like to ask, please email them to the email address that you see on the screen right now. It's askkeith@ging.org. If we don't get to your questions here today, rest assured we will get you an answer via email after today's town hall. All right, I am going to turn it over to our President and CEO, Keith Parker.
Thank you, Elaine. So the purpose of today is to give you an update about how we are doing at Goodwill, both at the local level as well as nationally. And we'll throw a few numbers at you. We'll tell you about a few things we got planned for the future, and we'll give you a nice recap of how we did last year. But first, I'd like to introduce you to our newest team member at the executive level, and this is Ron Wade. Ron replaced our long-term great teammate, Angela Strout, just a few months ago. And he comes to us after a very stellar career with the Fulton County School System. So in coming months, I'm sure many of you will get a chance to see Ron. So welcome him to the Goodwill family. So how are we doing? So it's really a mixed bag about how Goodwill is performing at the national level. We're continuing to grow with many more stores than what we've had before. We have one of the strongest store networks anywhere in the country. But where we're having more struggles is on the mission side of things. While the stores are growing, we've still not recaptured the level of influence we once had in terms of the number of people we're being placed into jobs. Still fewer and fewer people are going into career centers looking for opportunities. Now that's what's going on the national level. If you'll go to the next slide, you'll see Goodwill is pretty much everywhere throughout the country, more concentrated, of course, on the East Coast than the West. But if you look at us overall and all the population, just about 90% of the population of our country is within about a 10 to 15 minute ride of a Goodwill store. So we're still growing, still have a great presence, but have some opportunities to do a few things better. Now, how are we doing here at Goodwill of North Georgia? Well, we are doing really, really well. And our influence is continuing to grow, both at the local level. We are doing having a number of different partnerships with lots of different organizations, including the Atlanta Regional Commission, who we are partnering with on a number of big initiatives in workforce development. In just a couple of weeks, I'll be working with the state legislature and how we at Goodwill of North Georgia can help find more and more great teammates, great employees to go to work for some of the best organizations anywhere in our state. And then even at the national level, again, in just a couple of weeks, I'll be sitting with some officials from around our region talking about how we can have a federal impact, a national impact on workforce development and how what we do here in Georgia can be a role model for what goes on in the rest of the rest of the country, and in some respects, even the rest of the world. So what are we doing here at Goodwill of North Georgia? We just had a study finished up that's showing that our impact is approaching almost $700 million per year. And in fact, when you add Goodwill of North Georgia to the other Goodwills within the state, we are now fast approaching $1 billion of economic impact. So the people who we're helping to place into jobs, the companies who we're helping to support individuals, their families, and their neighborhoods, it's now having over the past 10 years almost $9 billion impact. So Goodwill of North Georgia is doing well. I'm going to talk more specifically about that as we move along. So as you all know, the strategic plan is the way that we really guide how we want to do business, that we try to set within about every 5 years, we try to set some goals that lay out what, if we accomplish these things, then Goodwill will be having a fantastic impact on our region here in North Georgia. So those of you who know and were here in 2018, we started out with some very lofty goals of well over 100,000 people who we plan to put to work in over the next 5 years, approaching $200 million in annual revenue. And very importantly, we want to be one of the best places in which to work in the entire state of Georgia. So how are we doing? So let's talk about it. First, in growing the mission for fiscal 23, we set a very lofty goal of 24,250 folks. And we wanted 74% of those jobs to be of very high quality. We set a goal of 185.8 million in total revenue and a profitability number exceeding $21 million. And again, very importantly, we want to make sure that this is a great place to work. So we set goals of retaining over 70% of our full-time workers and 40% of our part-timers, and an employee engagement score of 73%. So how we do on all those very lofty goals? First, on growing the mission, this is our target of putting people to work. We set the most aggressive target really anywhere in the country, and we came very close to hitting it, setting a target of almost over 24,000 people in a time when most workforce developments are seeing dramatic decreases. So we didn't quite get to the 24,000, but we did reach 22,062 folks. And very importantly, we are now seeing a trajectory that's very, very positive. And on the second part of our growing the mission work, and that is putting people into quality jobs, well, we hit a home run. We knocked it out of the park. For those of you who remember, back just a few years ago, only 16% of the people who we brought in as our participants and we helped find work, only 16% of them were moving into jobs that were living wage and beyond. Today, over 80% of the people who we placed and 82% of the folks who we placed in fiscal 23 are in working and living wage and better type of positions. And our retention number is even stronger, 77.6%. So almost 130% over what we targeted. So outstanding results overall. Now, as far as funding the mission, this is where we develop the revenue that's required to fund our mission. The things that we do in the stores and other places, that's how we generate the money, the profitability to do the mission work that I just talked about. So our FY23 final result, $192 million in revenue, an all-time high. And how do we get there? How do we beat our fiscal 23 target by over $8 million? Well, by being innovative and by being aggressive and creative. Our e-commerce, which we just started a handful of years ago, is now in the top 10 of all Goodwills in the entire country, generating almost $8 million. And we made an extraordinarily smart hire a few years ago when we brought in Emily Carter to lead our development efforts. And she, along with the help of many of her teammates, we generated over $1.5 million in revenue that goes now to our bottom line that allows us to do so many different things. New goods, a whole host of other pieces are playing into this, but overall being innovative, being aggressive in the way we go after new revenue opportunities, that's why we're being successful. So when you look at that growth overall, going back before the pandemic, we were at $158 million and now quickly approaching $200 million. And I'll have Tim O'Connell talk about this a little bit later, give you a bit more details on where we stand financially. But I definitely want to give a shout out to the 5 stores that really, really kicked butt this past year, that saw their sales exceed $3 million. And you see there's a mixture there, not all just big urban stores. Some of them are in some of our rural areas. So the folks at Cornelia, McDonough, Piedmont, Decatur, and Buckhead, hats off to you for extraordinary years. Thank you very much. But we know the key to whether it's Cornelia, Rome, anywhere else, is having great teammates. And we want to be the best place in which to work in the entire state of Georgia. And while we love when we win awards, and we've won quite a few awards saying that we're doing some really good things, the number one way that people tell you if they're happy with their jobs is with their feet, especially in this type of an economy. So retaining superstar, talented people is the number one way we know that we're doing some things right. So when we look at our retainage scores, we're strong in almost every way. We're better than what we were last year. We're better than budget. We're better than what we projected. So we are holding on to 72% of our full-timers. Again, outstanding numbers. Over 40% of our part-timers, and our overall retention rate at 61%, again, amongst the best in the nation. And our engagement score just blew it out of the water. And we really appreciate you telling us what you think, telling us how you feel about it, because then we can respond and become an even better place to work. Our strategic plan is coming to an end. So this year will be the last of the plan that started out in 2018, and we need your help. We need your participation as we're forming committees and others to give us feedback about what our goals should be as we move forward. What are the types of things you'd like to see our company go after? What type of place do you want this to be to work? And if all moves according to plan, we should have this brand new strategic plan starting up next summer. So what's on the horizon? What are the big things that we want to make sure that we take on in the next few weeks, the next few months, and definitely over the next year? So one of them is that we know that many of you have heard about how artificial intelligence and innovation is really driving lots of companies. So at Goodwill, we're going to take a full opportunity to go after that. So we are creating a task force called ChatGNG, and that task force will be led by our own Christian Lupo. It has members from throughout the entire organization, and we will be reaching out to you, for everybody in the company, to have an opportunity to tell us again what types of things we can be using technology for, what types of things we may want to stay away from. But you'll be hearing more and more about this effort in the weeks and months to come. And a big part of our future is always partnerships. Very often, my colleague, Jenny Taylor, who is to my right here, and you'll get a chance to hear from Jenny when we do the Q&A. We brag that we have over 5,000 partnerships here at Goodwill of North Georgia, but we're always looking for more. And we have developed great new partnerships in the last few weeks and the last few months. Groups like Hope Atlanta, the Easter Seals, the Georgia Justice Project, Accenture, and very recently, the group, the Liz Blake Foundation, has given us several $100,000 in grants that we'll be able to use for workforce development. So more partnerships, greater collaboration, and that will make Goodwill even stronger as we move forward. Now, one thing I wanted to do before I bring on Tim O'Connell to talk a bit about some of our finances and give you a bit more detail on that, is that we want to really thank the folks out at our Griffin store. All of you know that that store was significantly damaged by a tornado just a few months ago. In fact, virtually all the product that was inside the store was destroyed and could not be used. Many of the fixtures were damaged beyond repair. And as you can see, there is a gigantic hole in the roof. Now, we have been working diligently. I want to thank the leadership of DGR, as well as Scott Perry and his team, as we've gone out and done some major repairs to this facility. And it's just amazing what we've done. So take a look at these after shots now of what's going to be a state-of-the-art facility with LED lighting, hardwood floors, and all sorts of great new amenities. And we can't wait to get this store open in just a few months. So thank you to all the teammates out there who have shown tremendous patience and the many blessings that we've received. The fact that nobody was injured when this thing happened. And we're going to bring back on one of our greatest assets better than ever. So let me turn it over to Tim O'Connell to give you an update on our finances.
Thank you, Keith. I do not see on my screen the slide, so I'll do this as best I can.
And we can see your slide, Tim.
What's that?
We can see the slide, the financial highlight slide. We can see it.
No, I think
So the first slide really is the financial highlights of the organization for the past year, and particularly on revenue. It was very easy for everybody to understand. As Keith alluded to earlier, $192.1 million. Phenomenal record. Of interest is, we're fast approaching, and, even for our budget, we're fast approaching a $200 million threshold. And it wasn't that long ago that we passed the $100 million threshold. In fact, it actually happened in fiscal year of 2012, so not that long ago. So the agency has just been on a, nice trajectory. A few shout outs. Obviously, the main economic engine of Goodwill certainly is the stores, and the stores did fantastically well. for this presentation, you can go back one slide. We highlighted maybe a few that need a gold star. And I think Keith touched on e-commerce, but another gold star certainly would go to new goods. And a shout out to Mike Pryor, Matt Jones, Steve Gaskell, and the whole team there with Dell. And, just really kind of, pumping the fuel into what we can do for mission, because as Keith alluded to in the very first slide, the financial strength of the organization is good, but we also need to preserve it going forward in order to do the mission. Another key area of the organization that's continuing and always is in place, but certainly last year was a series of capital initiatives to refresh the stores. And I said stores, but I certainly could have put career centers. We actually have renovation of a career center underway as we speak today. But equipment throughout the organization, whether that's technology equipment or equipment, for the facility services side and so forth. And then, of course, IT infrastructure, which may not be readily visible to most people, but we also have to ensure that we're kind of operating in a good controlled environment. So the IT team is leading the charge in that. You can go to the next slide. This gives you some perspective. I think Keith had a slide that showed a little bit of history, but the revenue just year over year. So the first three blue ones you see there are the actual results of 21, 22, and 23 for our fiscal year. And where are we going? And so on the horizon, the theme that Keith alluded to a minute ago is, this year, now they're already underway, our fiscal 24 is approaching 196.1 million. And the fact that our performance generally beats budget, we could touch on that $200 million threshold in our actual results of 24, if everything goes according to plan. You can go to the next slide. So what are the key takeaways from the financial perspective? Of course, these are messages that we certainly convey to board members, who have oversight of the agency, but our financial health is very strong. And it's, the strength of the agency, it's certainly its people, but the fact that it had good financial discipline for so many years allowed us to weather the storm that no one perhaps really anticipated, which was the pandemic. And so now, as some of those numbers that we've shown indicate, the financial strength of the organization remains strong now that we've come out of the pandemic. A few things from last year that I think, a lot of people played a part on is certainly we renewed our benefit plans with no increase in the rates, that employees contribute for our health and welfare benefits. And that was virtually unheard of in dealing with insurance companies, as you can imagine. But there's a lot of credit to all of you, because obviously the health of our employees is a big factor in that equation when we come up for renewals. But that was very pleasing to us that we were able to do that for all the people who participate in our benefit plans. And then, of course, from a governance perspective, good audit results last year, favorable audit results with our outside independent audit firm. That obviously is important to people who make decisions about lending us money. And then, of course, for people who lend us money, we have, what they call covenants or agreements to honor certain things about our financial strength. And so we're fully compliant with all of those. And then really the issue or the area of focus remains on operational excellence and innovation. Some of those things that Keith alluded to earlier from 4 or 5 years ago about adding diverse revenue streams. All of that dialogue continues on today to figure out new ways to do the things that we do very well and see if we can, do it more efficiently. And then, of course, all of that is oriented towards delivering a bigger mission impact for the North Georgia region and the goodwill movement overall. You can go to the next slide. So plans for the future. I think Keith is going to touch on that, but if anyone has any questions, we'll certainly avail ourselves of the opportunity to get those on the end of this conversation. But thanks to the whole team, and I'll turn it back over to Keith.
All right. And Christian, if you'll put back that last slide, what we want to do before we start Q&A is I just want to tell you, here's our plans for the future for the next few weeks and the next few years. First, we want to continue to grow mission. Secondly, we want to enhance the entire compensation package for our employees throughout all walks of our organization. We want to really hone in on operational excellence. Every bit of efficiency we can squeeze out of the organization means more mission and better compensation packages for all of our teammates. We want to continue to be the best place to work in Georgia. So that means we need to hear from you about the things we can do better. and we want to maintain our financial strength. Without doing that, none of the other four things are possible. So with that, I'm going to be joined by Jenny Taylor, Dale McKinney, Tim is still on, and Elaine will start off with some questions for us.
All right. So thank you for all of the updates, Keith and Tim, and we're going to go right into it. So Tim had started to talk about our benefits, and open enrollment is coming up mid-September. So everyone continue to watch your email and the hub for more information about that. But we know we've been hearing a lot about it. We held down the expenses of our health insurance benefits last year. What can we expect for this year?
Well, this year is going to be more challenging because the health insurance companies have come back to us with dramatic increases of what they want us to pay, and we're negotiating hard. So our goal is to make whatever increase that does come out of this to be as small as possible. There's likely to be some, but our goal is to keep an excellent insurance plan. We've seen more and more people enroll in that plan over the last few years, to keep it very employee focused and not make dramatic changes, because we know when we do that, it has a significant impact on that individual, their families. So our goal to keep that number down, but it may go up a bit this year.
And just so you all can prepare for that, September 18th through October 2nd will be our open enrollment period. That means that is the time that you should sign up for insurance benefits if you would like to take advantage of them. Otherwise, there may be very few instances throughout the year that you can actually take advantage of them. So you want to make sure that you think about them during that time frame. But we have always talked about, Keith, and we've heard you talk about offering the benefits to our team members that we do and being very proud of what we can offer. So who's available, who's eligible to sign up for our health insurance benefits? Because even though we're talking about them, we may see some increases. Let's talk about who actually can take advantage of that.
Well, all of our full-timers can take advantage of the benefit program. And we want to, again, keep them affordable, offer not just health and other benefits, but other things like savings programs and so forth, ways that you can save your dollars for later times, like our, the name escapes me, but the savings plans, again, that we have out there. And we also want to make sure that we offer long-term opportunities for our folks, that if they want to invest in the company through 401k types of things, they can see their dollars grow over the years with some different matching opportunities that we offer. We now, for the first time ever, we are allowing our part-timers to partake with EAP type benefits. So we're offering that, and we're offering for the first time enhanced death benefits for folks who might be just part-timers. We're offering those death benefits to them as well as the full-time employees.
Fantastic. So EAP, if you want to know more about that, just send a note to Ask Keith, or if you are a user on the hub, we encourage you all to be. You can go on there and you can search for EAP and you'll see all the information we provided. But those are fantastic benefits that are available to every single team member, as Keith just said. So that's really, really great information. If you have questions specifically about your healthcare benefits or things that you need, you can always put in a ticket through UKG, or you can call 404-420-9999 for more information. I want to quickly turn over to Keith, though, and ask you a question. We are in the middle of our evaluation process. So every team member who has been here for the past year is going through an annual review and performance evaluation. And at the end of that, for those team members who are eligible, they may receive a merit. So can you tell us a little bit about that process? What's important to you? What's important to the leadership as we go through that process? And what can team members be thinking about as they're going through this process right now?
Well, I hope everyone thought about this as the fiscal year began last year, but also are thinking about what they can be doing even better, more efficiently moving into the new year. But we have a merit process and what that means is effectively, if you do a good job, you should be rewarded with more money. And that's how we will be approaching this this evaluation period. The things, of course, that we always care a great deal about, that every person in the entire organization should care about our mission, because the more people who we help find jobs, that brings back great results to us. Every person who has a high customer, high activity with different customers, we want to make sure that you're doing a great job as a customer service agent and being an ambassador for Goodwill. And finally, we want to make sure that you're just a great teammate, that we really want people to work collaboratively together, whether they are in the same department or cross-departmentally. So teamwork, as well as being efficient in what you do, customer focused in what you do, those are the things that will bring back great results to you. If all goes according to plan, we hope to have the merit increases in place in just the next few weeks. And then we'll be really focused in on how we can improve the lot, particularly of the folks who are our lowest paid employees. We want to make even greater investments there. But everybody in the organization, as we do better, you'll do better.
Fantastic. That is awesome to hear. So everybody continue to, as we're in our new fiscal year, continue to set those goals. Make sure that you are checking in with your managers and with your leaders to make sure you're staying on target, because as we all do better, as Keith said, we all want to make more money and we all want to be rewarded for that. I want to turn over to something in our last minute, though, to something that's fun that we can look forward to. So as a team, we've got things like open enrollment that we have to do. We've got our evaluation process that we have to do. But then we've also baked into our company and our culture things that are fun to do. And so we have a fun committee that has got some things going on, and it's a team that you commissioned and brought together. So anything you can tell us about the fun committee, what they've got cooking up for us?
Actually, I think you're better served at doing that.
Okay.
And I'm going, and I think unless I'm looking at our IT person, that we started about a few minutes late, so we're going to go a few extra minutes if that's okay. And one financial thing I did want to mention, when I came in with the rest of the leadership team, we kept some of our really strong teammates, folks like Elaine, and we brought on some new teammates. While Jenny was already here, she got promoted, and accented them with several others, folks like Tim O'Connell, who you met a little bit earlier. Scott Perry was already here, and then we brought on Dale and a few others. But when we started, since that time, just 5 years ago, our frontline employees have seen wage increases that have exceeded 50% from where we got it. And we know we have a long way to go. But that's where much of our focus will be, that things are significantly better than what they were. While we know there's more to do and there's more commitment and more investment that's going to be necessary, I don't want anybody to lose sight of how far we've come in this 5-year period. So with that, I'll let you tell us a little bit about the fun things.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are in the middle of our Goodwill Trains series. So if you have not joined the hub, we encourage you to do so. We have team members, Keith, and you would enjoy this because we know that you are an avid fitness person and you work out a lot. But we've got people who are closing their rings on their Apple Watches. They're going on runs. They're running with their kids in strollers. We even saw Tim doing the Rocky run up the bleachers the other day. So we encourage you to get moving, to get active. We want you to do that all throughout the year, but we're doing this to gear up for our Kaiser Run Walk, and our own president and CEO won the CEO competition before. We want you to win this year too, Keith. So I don't know if you got your new running shoes ready, but it's a 5K run, walk, or roll. So everyone can participate if you would like to, or you can just come out and have fun at Piedmont Park with us. It's on September 28th. It's $5 for all team members, provided that you use the code Goodwill23 when you sign up. We sent out an email the other day, but we'll continue to send out emails and of course messages on the hub. So join the hub, post all your activities there. Join me for some workouts. I've got some videos up there so that you can do that. We also did a fiscal year new e-greeting. So that was kind of cool. So we always talk about Happy New Year when it's January, but for us at Goodwill, our New Year starts in July 1.
That's right.
So we did some e-greeting exchanges, but we also have things like Keith coming every single week when he shares some moments with Keith where we ask you a question about leadership. We share those throughout the hub. We've got all of our vice presidents posting. We've got recipes. We've got so many things on the hub. So we encourage you to go there and join us. But then we also are looking and use that fund committee to also ask questions. So you've also tasked them before with bringing and trying to see what the team members want. What do
Absolutely.
they want? What do they think is going to be fun? What kind of activities can we do to engage you? So the fund committee is always active doing that and also celebrating our DEI efforts through through the hub. So those are great things.
So let me ask a question.
Yeah.
We got Jenny here. Over the last 6 months, we've seen this dramatic resurgence. So coming up. Move over my stuff.
I want her to.
We've seen a dramatic resurgence in the number of people who are coming into our career centers and the number of folks that we're helping to find jobs. Why? What's happening?
Well, it has been a record, and never in the history of Goodwill of North Georgia have we had 6 consecutive months where we've seen as many people and put as many people to work as we have. And there's 3 things. One is the team led by the person immediately to my left on the other side of Keith, Elaine Armstrong, and our marketing team, and Kendria and our folks on public relations and the firm we've hired, a really successful advertising and public relations campaign, and the board helping us, and the ambassadors that Emily Carter has been leading to get mission messaging out. It's really been quite successful. The second, we call it invasion of the body snatchers. We go out and get all the people where they are. So my team, all of the career services, passionate, enthusiastic folks have been out with every single organization who serves the people that we serve to make sure that they know about all of the things that you have made possible at our agency to help our neighbors to get back to work. It's really been an important thing to do. And then third, the employers that began coming to us during the pandemic because they couldn't find labor because of that massive shift and churn that we saw in the labor force have continued to find value. And when they have high quality jobs ready to hire on the spot that bring value to the community, people know that. And when they can hear it from our teams, they hear it from word of mouth of their neighbors, that we have employers hiring and job training programs to get people ready. Those 3 things in combination have meant that people find value in what we do and they continue to walk in our doors.
Well, that's great news. You know, this is why we're in business, that is to do mission. And the fact that this calendar year could be the biggest year we've ever had, despite all the challenges that are out there, and cementing ourselves even more. But for the last 3 years, we've been the #1 Goodwill in the country at helping to put people to work. This year, 4 years, I'm sorry. So 4 years in a row. This year, not only will we win that, we'll win it by a record margin.
So speaking of winning, we are going into where we're already in our new fiscal year. Besides all of the things that we talked about and Tim talked about that we got looking forward to, what are you most looking forward to as we continue out through fiscal year 2024 for us, which we start in calendar 2023. I know it's confusing everyone, but we are in our fiscal year 2024. So what can we look forward to?
Well, the thing that drives me the most about our agency, it truly is our teammates. And with this new strategic plan effort, I'm going to be more focused than ever on getting in front of as many people as possible to hear their thoughts about what we do. The best ideas that I've ever put out and been able to get actualized and executed have been things I've heard directly from people who work for our company. We are going to be even more aggressive about things like our breakfast with the CEO opportunities. We're going to be more in person at more stores, at career centers, at the facility services, different places and so forth. So that, again, I get a chance to see you, hear from you, and hear those great ideas and turn those into reality. That's what we'll be focused on. And so it'll be, you all will get tired of seeing me over the next few weeks and months in the year. But that's what we'll be doing, focused on seeing people and hearing what makes Goodwill a special place and what we can do to make it even more special.
Fantastic. Well, with that, if that's it, I want to remind everyone, if you put in a question into Ask Keith at GING, we will get you those answers via email. You can always send questions through the hub. You can always send questions to Ask Keith at GING.org. As Keith mentioned, he will be out visiting a location near you. So team members, if you've got questions for him, be sure to ask them. Of course, you can ask any of us VPs or your managers so that we can get the answers to your questions. But with that, I think we will let everybody get back to their day. Thank you all for joining us. I think we will put the recording of this probably on the hub. So if you have missed it or you know a team member who's missed it or you want to go back and watch it again, we will make sure that that video gets there. And if you need information about how to join the hub, check your emails. We'll send you information about that as well. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.